It all happened incredibly fast. I choked back a shout, then I was my partner. Quick, Kosygin, look. He had long been accustomed to gaining consciousness and all his faculties in a tenth of a second. Well, what do you know about that? Then he fell silent. Victoria had retreated until she had her back to a kind of metal cupboard. She was watching the intruders with utter calm. She did not make the slightest outcry. And yet the three boys were all holding stubby, dangerous-looking weapons. Not a word was spoken. I saw the weapons spit tiny blue flames. I shut my eyes and cried out, "They're going to kill her!" An instant later, I heard Kosygin saying, look at that." I opened my eyes. I expected to see Victoria lying on the floor, but she was still standing with her back to the cupboard. A faint smile folded on her pale blue lips. "How extraordinary," said Kosygin. The three boys looked surprised. They glanced at one another, pocketed their weapons, and started towards the young hippie. "They'll get her eventually," I said. "We've got to help her." "Let's not get involved," said Kosygin. "It'll be too late anyway. Let's just watch." The assailants moved slowly. If she had a weapon in her, she must have realized that she couldn't possibly reach it in time. But perhaps she didn't even have one. My throat was tight with excitement and fear, for I was afraid of Victoria. What happened next was incredibly fast. The girl leaned forward and, clamping a mysterious hold over a huge opponent, levered him over her shoulder, sent him crashing against the wall. Next, she sprang like a cat onto the table, then to the top of the cupboard, and from there she leaped down on another boy, swinging both arms and legs. There was a hoarse cry, and the second attacker sank on the floor with his froggy head lying at such an odd angle. It was obvious his neck was broken. The smallest of the three boys now seemed to waver. He stepped back and threw a short dagger, but already Victoria was on him. She seized him by the knife wrist, twirled him about like a toy balloon, and threw him against a corner of the table. He stood on the floor like a broken clock and lay motionless, apparently dead. We had watched this extraordinary scene with bated breath. Victoria looked less winded than we were. But I'd never seen anything like that. I'd take my hat off to that girl. In fact, she's more than terrific. The young lady went over to look at the smashed door, which must have been one of the inner doors of her apartment. Then she examined the boys who were strewn about the floor. Bending over them, she said, then she took a small round object out of the chest, raised it to her lips, and spoke briefly. "Come quickly, bring the circle." She was calling for someone. Then she sat in an armchair and remained perfectly still, staring into space. A minute later, two hippies, a man and a woman, came into the room. They both belonged to the little troupe of acrobats. The man whistled in admiration. "Nice work," he said. "I suppose they wanted the papers you took from them." "I suppose so." "Are they dead?" "Yes. It couldn't be helped. If there had only been two of them, or if I'd known they were so clumsy, I could have spared them. But obviously they meant to kill me." "All right. Do we operate now?" "We operate." The man opened a small sachet he was carrying. He took out a kind of shining carpet which he spread on the floor, and then an apparatus that looked something like a vacuum cleaner. In a way, that was what it was, but of a very special sort. With the help of the woman accompanying him, he placed one of the bodies on the shining carpet, pointed the tube kind of funnel again towards the body, and turned on the apparatus. The body was sucked into the funnel as if it had been turned to liquid or gas. In a little over a minute, nothing was left of it. The other two bodies were given the same treatment. The hippie looked around the room. "Any other damage?" he asked. "The door." "Oh, of course. I'll be back in 10 minutes." He folded the shining carpet and put it back in the satchel along with the apparatus. Then he and the woman left. "They certainly are well equipped," Kosygin said to me. "We don't have anything like that disintegrating vacuum cleaner. It does a neat, clean job. It must be damn useful in cases like that. I'm going to turn in a report on it." I was still fairly shaken by what I had just seen, and overjoyed that Victoria was safe and sound. "What do you think of all that?" I asked. "I think my hunch was right. Your hippie girlfriend is a fellow agent. But what a girl. If she's a beginner, she's got what it takes. Did you see the way she took care of those three gorillas? She's an acrobat. She must have muscles of steel." "Yes, but that wouldn't have been enough to get her out of that jam if she weren't also an expert in some very special kind of lethal fighting technique. You and I know all the methods of unarmed combat, from ancient judo and karate to modern napalm. Yet I had no idea what she was doing in there. And what about the way she neutralized those laser pistols? Obviously, she set up a force screen between them and her, and a damn powerful one. But how did she do it? She didn't have anything in her hands. I'd also like to know more about those papers she stole from the Borleys. However, I doubt they're the ones that were signed in our presence. Tchaikovsky must have taken those with him." On our video screen, Victoria was still sitting like a statue. Her face was a perfect blank. What a strange girl. Kosygin was gazing at her with evident respect. Page 287. I sat down next to the woman, who made no sign as before. I took the cigarette from her fingers and stuck it between her lips. Pushing her forward, I leaned over behind her and undid the buttons descending the length of her back and over her rump. I slid the dress off. There wasn't anything underneath. She seemed vaguely to sense that something was happening, and bending her head over her now naked breasts, drew her arms off the table. Her breasts heavy, prominent, and the nipples soft. I ran my hands over her waist, along her thighs, and finally buried them in the soft flesh under the fur. Unresponsive until now, she began to rock from side to side. Somewhere in her was a faint, wakeful gleam of consciousness. I picked her up and laid her on the table, her legs sagging over the edge. I said, "Come on, we're going for a walk." I carried her through the Marxist archway and across the marble floor. There was no one in the swimming pool. The sounds of the room were deadened in the air and seemed to come from a distance.
Like that.
Just the one, it'll be cool.
Very slowly.
A bit more of the...
Like where my band did it.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. Hung around for a long, long years. I've stole many a man's soul of faith. I was around when Jesus Christ had his moments of doubt and pain. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands, sealed his fate.
No, I know, but I just don't. I don't have to be singing double time because the bass isn't playing it, but the rhythm's still playing it.
Yeah, but it sounds nice if you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that first verse should be quite close to the way you were singing it the other night.
Yeah. Okay.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. Stole many a man's soul of faith. I was around when Jesus Christ had his moments of doubt and pain. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his face. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. Stuck around St. Petersburg when I saw it was a time for a change. Killed the Tsar and his ministers. Anastasia screamed in vain. I rode a tank, held a generous rank when the blitzkrieg raged and the bodies stank. Pleased to meet you all. Hope you guess my name. Yeah. What's puzzling you is just the nature of my game. Yeah. I watch you gleam while your kings and queens fall for for 10 decades for the God they made. Shouted out who killed the Kennedys when after all it was you and me. So please let me introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I lay traps for troubadours who get killed before they reach Bombay. Pleased to meet y'all now. Hope you guess my name. Yeah. Ah, what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. Yeah. Get down. Yeah.